Welcome to the morning show. Today we have Mr. Doug Fine here to talk about a sustainable way of life. Born and raised in New York, Mr. Fine bought a farm in the New Mexico desert and moved there. He wanted to see if he could live with the least consumption of fossil fuel energy. Let's learn about his struggles to reduce his carbon emissions. Hello, Mr. Fine. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, hey, everyone, it's great to be here. My name is Doug Fine, and I am a journalist. I'm trying to stop using fossil fuels and live as green a life as possible.
You said you are trying to quit using fossil fuels. Why? What's wrong with fossil fuels?
Well, we all know the story, don't we? We get energy mainly from burning fossil fuels, but there are a couple of problems with that. Fossil fuels are not renewable, which means that sooner or later we are going to run out of them. Also, they harm the environment. When you burn fossil fuels, carbon gas is produced, which has a harmful effect on the climate.
Climate change is not news, but we are likely to think it's none of our business.
I hadn't taken it seriously before either. While working on a documentary in Alaska, however, I realized that climate change is serious and that I, along with everyone else, am responsible for it. I could see it with my own eyes. Enormous ice sheets were melting away. It struck me hard that I was sending carbon into the air whenever I turned on the lights, drove a car, or even went shopping for food. I felt I had to do something.
So you decided to change your way of life. What exactly did you do?
To begin with, I gave up city life. Do you know what the two things in our lives that burn the most fossil fuels are? Electricity and transportation. But who could live entirely without them? We certainly cannot. If it were not for electricity and transportation, we would have to live like primitive people. So I wanted to set up a more sustainable system of providing for them, different from the current one that is so dependent upon fossil fuel energy. It was difficult for me to do this in a city as big as New York.
In other words, you wanted to enjoy all the benefits of the modern age, only with a lot less fossil fuels.
Exactly. As for electricity, my answer was solar energy. It's also the reason I chose New Mexico. The sun shines almost all year round there. Still, it was not easy for me to get electricity from sunlight. Solar panels are surprisingly expensive, and I had trouble putting them in place. It was worth the effort though. Now a large part of the electricity used on my farm is provided by my DIY solar system. After going solar, my farm uses only 1/10 of the fossil fuel energy used by the average American household.
And regarding transportation, I hear you now drive a very special truck.
Yes, I came up with what I consider a brilliant idea: biofuel. I bought a diesel truck and had it converted to run on vegetable oil. Rudolf Diesel, the inventor of diesel engines, actually intended for farmers to grow their own fuel. These days, I no longer go to a gas station to get fuel. I pay regular visits to a local Chinese restaurant and collect waste cooking oil. It does not cost money and does not send carbon into the air. The only problem is that the truck smells like fried chicken, and driving it makes me terribly hungry.
You also started farming. What does food have to do with carbon reduction?
I'm not a farmer by trade. I just try my best to grow what I eat. Eating locally is another way of reducing carbon emissions. Not only people, but also food travels in this world of global trade. The tomatoes in your lunch salad may have come from Chile. To bring them to you consumed a lot of jet fuel. I grow fruits and vegetables and raise some chickens for daily eggs, just for my dinner table. I also raise goats for milk and ice cream. Without ice cream, my happiness couldn't be complete.
Are you satisfied with your life? Do you think a more sustainable way of life is possible for everyone?
When I started this, I set 3 goals for myself. Use less oil, power my life with solar energy, and eat locally. It's been only a year, but I believe I've made significant progress. If we stay aware and keep trying, I'm certain that we can build a better future. Not everyone can do what I did, but everyone can and should try to reduce their carbon consumption.
Mr. Fine, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.